there's only one way this is going. There's going to be a civil war in this country. And I hope the outcome of the war will be the reinstatement of constitutional Republican government. Me and many others like me are going to perform a valiant attempt to reinstate, restore legitimate, lawful, constitutional Republican government. Whether or not we're going to be successful, I can't tell you. But I will tell you that once this war starts, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be bloody, and it'll last for 10 to 15 years. That's the nature of this kind of conflict.
Hey there, freedom fighters, coming back at you with another one. Well, today's topic is going to be Civil War. Topic that comes up on this channel quite often, but it's going to be a little different this time. It's going to be a movie review. As you can see, I'm out here in my Civil War drip, LARPing, with my Daryl Dixon right here. You can hear it already, you supported Hollywood. Well, I don't go see movies often. I think the last movie I saw was Top Gun, because, America. And then I saw maybe Avatar and one of the older Star Wars. I saw Ford vs. Ferrari, which was a pretty good movie. But yeah, I don't go see movies often. But ever since I saw this trailer, I was intrigued. And I figured I'd go, see what Alex Garland envisioned the second Civil War would look like. Well, I'm sure it's safe to say during my discussions, through my praises and critiques, there will most likely be spoilers. So this is a good time to say, hit that thumbs up button, hit like, and subscribe so you can bookmark this and come back to it if you don't want to get any of the spoilers. But I'm going to try to keep them down to a minimum. Alright, let's start off the review. So I want to start off saying they did a great job in making this not political. You never really know what the president's stance is. All you know is that he's in there for a third term. But you never know, what side he's on. And you don't know any side that anybody's on. You hear these terms like California-Texas alliance. You don't know what they're fighting for. And, we've done discussions before when this first came out. That's not even plausible. I think they did that for a reason. And then you have these Western forces, the Florida Alliance. I think they're together. You never find out what they're fighting for. One of these sides kind of has dyed colored hair and painted fingernails. So I think it's kind of a subtle hint to maybe they're the Rainbow Gang. But yeah, that's about it as far as, knowing what side they're on. And in the opening clips, the president gives a speech, and you do see clips of what happened in January after the election. There's also a clip there of a Seattle riot from a guy called Weapon Snatcher that grabbed the AR out of a protester's hand. So they use that. And there's one moment in the film where this girl who's following the main character journalist, she says, "Do you know who I am?" And she's like, "Yeah, you took the pictures of the legendary Antifa massacre." So there's that little drop there. But other than that, there's really no political messages or hints. And I want to applaud them for that. Because Alex Garland is a admitted leftist. The guy who played the president, I can't remember his name right now. I think it was Offerman something Offerman. But he's a leftist. The Hispanic guy that plays another one of the main characters, the journalist, has admitted, in interviews that, he's a leftist. I haven't heard anything from Kirsten Dunst or anything like that, but, heck, she's a Hollywood actress, she's a leftist. The other young woman there, I haven't heard anything on her side either, but again, she's probably been groomed her whole life to be the position she's at. We could only guess where she stands. But again, the movie doesn't push um, political sides. So the plot of this is basically on this journalist point of view, which is a great way, a genius way, a perspective of filming this. And their whole point is to document the Second Civil War, and they're traveling from, I believe, Pennsylvania down to DC. And then they want to get to Virginia, where they call Charlottesville the front lines. So that's pretty interesting. That's another kind of, political hint that, what happened in Charlottesville, that they view that's the, the front lines of the war leading into DC. And their whole point is to get to DC and interview the president. And once they get there into DC, I mean, it was crazy. Just the visuals, I also want to point out, in this movie were incredible. And I'd highly recommend you go see it in IMAX, which is the bigger screen. And I think they also have digital audio enhancements and other things. But I mean, the explosions, the gunfire, I mean, it's like super immersive. You're like really in it. And it's like we just haven't seen it like this before. Especially, the visuals of the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, the George Washington Monument, stuff like that. And then especially the White House. All I could think of was White House Down. We did see that from a foreign occupation attack on the White House. I believe it was China in that movie. But I don't know, for some reason, this just felt so much more real. Mainly because anything else seems fiction, right? Like China or Russia, I don't really fear that. It's almost like, hey, if you want it, come and get it. But the fight amongst ourselves seems so much more real and believable. So it was really incredible to see the scenery. And when they get up to the White House, and to see the White House all fenced up and then sandbagged up, and they got the turret outside, turret go burr, and it's just mowing down everything, and they're slowly pushing their way in, and they do a fake evacuation of the president, and the armored vehicles come out, the Beast, and they do an attack on that, and then they work their way in and go room to room. You see the dining hall and all the different presidential rooms, and they get to the Oval Office, where he gets his final interview and gets the quote he was looking for, and I'll just leave it at that. I really liked the movie. I thought it was good. Like I said, they did a good job on not making it political. And one of the reviews I saw from another reviewer, I think it was on the trailer, that said it was a cautionary tale and a warning. And there's actually a quote from the main character, the journalist in the movie, Kirsten Dunst's character, that she said, every time I survived one of these war zones, it was a warning, to not do this again. And that's what I felt like the whole movie was a warning that everyone just needs to just stop it, right? We need to cut this out, or else this is where we're going to lead ourselves to. Easier said than done, I know. There's a couple scenes in the movie, like I said, I didn't want to spoil too much. There's one where they go up to this place, they're not too sure what it is, because you don't know anybody, what side anybody's on. They go to get gas at a gas station, and they pull up and say $300, and he says, well, $300 will get you a ham sandwich. You're not getting any gas for that. And then it turns out Canadian money is actually worth more. So she goes, no, 300 Canadian. And they said, well, that'll give you a half tank. So that's kind of a future homage, I guess, to say, to times to come. And I want to say one of the most chilling scenes in that movie I think back to my childhood when I watched The Patriot, and all the scenes in there, probably chopping someone up with the machete, or all the other scenes in that movie. The most chilling scene in that movie to me was when he looks out the window, and he hears gunshots rumbling in the background, and goes out to his porch. I mean, I can't even remember if he goes out to his porch. I think that's how I remember it. But the battle was right outside of his home. That was that shook me to my core as a child when I first watched The Patriot. There's a scene in this movie where, again, all the, you could expect to see the limbs torn in the scene where the drones strike and all the bloody bodies and they torture somebody. But all that is you expect that when you go to see this movie. Those are the shock and awe scenes, that you can expect. The one that really got me is when they're taking a break and trying to go to sleep at night in the back of the vehicle, and she's trying to go to sleep, and there's gunfire in the background, and you can see the tracer round shooting through the sky, and it brings you to those visions of like Iraq, but you realize it's on your homeland, and it just makes it so much more real and brings that to you. And if you're a longtime viewer of mine, it's kind of my opinion that we're already in the second Civil War. It's no secret we're the most divided we've ever been since the first Civil War. I always say, these modern battles, you got Berkeley, Baltimore, Portland, Charlottesville, Kenosha, Ferguson. When you say these are modern day Civil War battles, and you know what has happened during these events. And I've always likened a Civil War to a divorce. But you don't divorce over Chinese carryout or pizza for dinner. You don't divorce over trivial issues. There's hard line stances people take, and it's usually a divorce over something like someone not being faithful or abuse, things like that, what they call irreconcilable differences, wounds that cannot be healed, things that cannot be mended. And that's where I believe we are. One side has their issue, the other side has their issue, and I know that I do. I will not bend, I will not fold, I will not change on those issues. So when you see a movie like this, the message is, again, I guess, stop it before it gets too bad. And I guess that's where I'll leave it at. As always, we are on our own. And remember to get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.
I don't think the American people realize that they're on the brink of a civil war. You see, there are many of us who took an oath when we went in the armed forces, and we meant it. We volunteered. We weren't drafted. We care about this country. And the oath was to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we will fulfill that oath, even if it means we die in the process of doing it. It's that simple.